it's going to be charged the whole time.
You can always move it. I'll come back if it doesn't. Oh, is that another plug for it? We'll crowd it over.
But if yours will stay charged, you can unplug yours and plug yours in.
Yep.
That would work. The reason I said it, when I came up today to set up at 2, yours was totally there. So,
I figures. It goes dead.
I hope y'all do. Lord.
Good evening and welcome to our regular Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting tonight, March 25th. This time we have no public hearing, so we'll move right into call the meeting to order. Invocation by Tom Murdoch. Ms. Murdoch, would you lead us in the invocation and in the pledge? Please stand.
Holy God, in this holy week, we ask you once again to help us to learn from Jesus, who taught us how to love with compassion for all of our brothers and sisters. May the decisions we make, the work we do each day, may they be of something that builds the city together, that shares out of its abundance, that's filled with love for all of our brothers and sisters. This day we come, grateful for this town, for this community, grateful for the leadership we have, and we ask your blessing upon it. In your holy name we pray. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Murdoch. This time I'd like the city recorder to call the roll, please.
Allmacher.
Here.
Berry. Glick.
Here.
Noah.
Here.
Mann.
Here.
Mathis.
Here.
Wilson.
So we have 7 present. Thank you. At this time, we have no commendations, but we do have some certificates for our 2 guests that are here this evening. We have Miss Irene Anderson and Miss Harley James. Our honorary alderman, we're delighted to have you with us. And if you would, join me at the flag, and I'd like to get a picture and get your certificates. We're delighted to have these young ladies with us tonight. We'll give you an opportunity to address the board a little later on in the meeting. have no other proclamations this evening, but we can move quickly, and we have a rather lengthy meeting tonight with a study session to follow, so we'll move quickly through this. Are there anyone from comments from the citizens who would like to address the board under anything that's under the purview of the board? So please come to the podium and you'll be recognized.
Hello, guys. I'm Jason Jones, 804 Westwood Drive, because I know you're going to ask, Mayor. I am here tonight in regard to the proposed amendments to the food truck ordinance. I know that I helped establish these rules. We kind of went over some things. Is it perfect? No. So we're here tonight to hopefully make a few changes. There are two things that we're looking at. One of them I'm just going to shoot off the hip. The other I'll go into detail about, where we're looking at getting approvals for our setups from property owners. You know, there's a lot of these places to where there are leasees, there are tenants there that really want us there. They have out-of-state owners that could really care less if we're there or not. You know, if they don't want us there, maybe we need to look at, you know, have the leasees, have the tenants ask the owners if it's okay. Because we can easily get that, but we find it rather difficult to get permissions from some of these out-of-state owners that are really hard to contact. So I would maybe advise that we look into that a little bit differently, maybe obtain a permit. We can just have the leasees and that's it, not the actual owners. So that's one thing there. The one thing that I do have a kind of a big issue with is the proposed changes to the ordinance want to abolish the requirement for food truck vendors to go through the newly established permit process for one-off or special events. Instead, the proposed change would defer potential liability to an event holder. I do not agree with these proposed changes for a few reasons. The concerns that I have for the events are for basically public safety, and that was the original intent of the ordinance. My concerns with the potential changes are the intent of the ordinance was to ensure health and safety of the public and people of Tullahoma. In bypassing the city permit process, the city is openly inviting potential problems that the ordinance was written for in the first place and diverting the liability to an event organizer to ensure health and safety requirements. During the discussion of this process of the ordinance, in this very room, it was stated that the city wanted to know who was coming to our city. All of a sudden, we don't care that much anymore. Another reason that the ordinance was established was the fact that Tullahoma tax dollars were leaving the city, and the $200 fee was put into place to offset the lost revenue. In not charging something, there again, we have the original intent of the ordinance is being disregarded. Additionally, think what these proposed changes said to food truck vendors that already have paid the premium $250 yearly fee. Openly inviting food trucks to events without having go through the process makes me question the need for the process as a whole. We all need to play by the same rules. My proposal would be this. For a food truck vendor who wants to attend a one-off or special event, pay a smaller fee, $25, $50 to cover the offset revenue, substantially smaller than the rest of us vendors. Have their health and safety information verified by the city, the same as the rest of us vendors, and have their names checked against the sex offender registry, the same as the rest of us. As I previously stated, we all need to play by the same rules. You're the rule makers. Please, let's make it right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else?
Good evening, everybody. I'm actually here on behalf of some property owners here tonight, specifically in relation to something that was brought up at the last meeting, the rezoning of the two parcels on Shelbyville Highway. I believe the owners are the Vassars, and the new owner of one of the pieces of property is New Doors Development, LLC. Just mostly here tonight to request that the board have a motion to reconsider both of those parcels. We feel that the discussion, or lack thereof, really, that was held last week, and the stated justification for denial of both of these parcels being rezoned was illusory. I think that's further evidenced by the fact that as things progressed at the last hearing, one parcel was denied, then the immediately adjacent parcel was approved for rezoning about 5 minutes thereafter. The stated reason that was given was based on a concern for, the impact on utilities and traffic concerns, but all of those things, it is my understanding, have been addressed and were contemplated at the time that the comprehensive master plan was adopted. So the applicants met all of the requirements for the rezoning application. If a final plat was submitted, or if a plat was necessary to be submitted at that time, we would think that that needs to be something that's required of every application if that's going to be done. Further, at the Planning Commission level, all of the requirements outlined in the Section 1006E of the zoning ordinance, those were all addressed, and the Planning Commission felt that there was really no concern with respect to each of those items that's outlined in Section 1006E. Again, the Planning Commission approved the request and sent it up with a favorable recommendation. Further, the rezoning that's being requested here is within the purview of that master plan from agricultural to R1. We're not making a huge jump here. It's just going from the lowest level to one level up. And again, there was no real opposition that I observed at the prior hearing or at the Planning Commission level. So we had requested a motion to reconsider be held tonight, and that it be approved.
Thank you. Yes.
Greg Kressel, 316 Oak Park Drive. Wanted to just speak, Mayor, towards the food truck ordinance scenario. And although I do understand the desire of the city to try to regulate what's happening, know who is coming and being a part, I do feel like there are cases where provisions could and maybe should be made. Working with an arts and cultural humanities organization, we host festivals and special events where and some examples would be like Piping on the Green, Scottish, Oktoberfest, German, Christkindlmarkt, German. In those scenarios, a lot of times we're looking for food truck vendors that are very specialty type vendors that might not be offered in our area, but might be offered in Huntsville or Chattanooga or Nashville, and it would be a one-time kind of scenario where they would come in. They're already paying to come and be a part of our festival or our special event, and we're just trying to add authenticity to those events by seeking foods that are authentic to that culture and what we're trying to accomplish there. So I believe that you have some things in front of you tonight to look at and discuss with that, and we'd appreciate any attention that you would give to that kind of thing as we're looking to just try to move forward with this in the best interest of the entire city. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Board of Mayor and Aldermen. In order to avoid a conflict of interest, I felt it necessary to put myself down here in front of the throes of this board, because ultimately, as I sit there as one of you, I can't really speak to you as a citizen. I often have felt as a sitting member of this body that I have been disenfranchised as a citizen. In fact, as if my voice had meant less and less and less over the time spent on this board. In fact, it's even become to mean even more sitting up there with you as we talk about rules and we talk about policy and we talk about trying to bring the community back together, yet I see some of you continue week after week, do nothing but destroy, politicize, and scheme and connive. That has to stop. Whether I'm on this board or not on this board, it has to end. There are even some parts of this city government right now who I am extremely disappointed in some of this. There are people being used for reasons and powers, and I will not go into the details of which, but it absolutely is happening. That corruption, if we don't kill it now, there are some of you up there who are becoming everything that you swore to me when you ran for office that you would never be. And I sat next to you and supported you. I'm here to talk to you about an issue that you may have already discussed in a session tonight, but I'm here as a citizen to tell you that I was told something with an application of your policy, your laws for my property as a citizen, not as a board member, and I have relied detrimentally upon that. I received a letter from our city administrator to the effect of it, and now, since we're so anti-lawsuit, the next word I get from the city administrator is that he has already, without board approval, filed suit against me over that property. Was it not enough that you tried to destroy me last year? Was it not enough that I have a $79,000 lawyer's bill after I've already paid almost $20,000 for a $4,000 a year seat? I guess it wasn't enough. I want to read before you, the citizens of Tullahoma and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, the letter that I received, so that we make sure and get that on the record. Dear Ms. Allmacher, recently we had a conversation regarding the construction at 1744 Ledford Mill Road and the various concerns regarding inspections, sprinkler systems, and fire hydrant requirements from code. This letter is a summary of our discussion for clarity and understanding. From our discussion, you have stated that your belief that your property, zoned agricultural, is not subject to the fire codes related to the items above. Likewise, as an agricultural property, any structure built on the parcel is not subject to local inspections by the city of Tullahoma. Therefore, you have made the decision to proceed with construction without the required inspections. In meeting with our staff from both fire and codes enforcement, it has been concluded that a final certificate of occupancy cannot be provided by the city due to the missing inspections and lack of the required fire hydrant addition. My understanding from you is that you will not require a certificate of occupancy for the structure being built due to agricultural zoning exemptions. Please review the above language to confirm our mutual understanding. If you agree this description is accurate, please confirm by signing below. Let me make it very clear, I didn't necessarily agree that that condition was accurate. In fact, I said that you cannot force somebody to put in a sprinkler system in a single residential one-story house on 20 acres of farmland merely because it's on 20 acres of farmland. That would be a violation of agricultural exemption laws. And no, you cannot force me to put a fire hydrant and run lines across my farm for the purposes of a fire hydrant. I'm not developing. I live on a farm and there are agricultural exemptions. However, if this was the take of the city, what was I to say? Continue my construction and go forth, right? Oh, but no. In fact, that letter was sent in November of 2023. It wasn't until last week, when I thought all is well in the world, that I get a phone call that I am being sued by the very city that I represent. I guess for the second time, since you so blatantly took part, many of you, in trying to remove me from my very seat and refused to offer me any guidance or support. It is election season, folks. It is time to pick up papers and run for office. And I want to tell you that it has not been easy standing in my seat or standing here before you today or sitting in that seat. And it won't be for the next generation, but please run for the right reasons. And I encourage all of you to be better than what you're being. And I encourage you to make sure that you're taking things up the chain of command, because in no way is it ever appropriate to sue somebody after you sent them a letter to the contrary, and that's the last thing that they heard. If that is customer service in this city, we have a long ways to go.
Thank you, Mr. Quick. Your name has been called, and you will not be limited to 3 minutes, as we did not limit the previous speaker to 3 minutes.
He's not a board member and it's inappropriate, but you know what? You follow your own rules.
Mayor, despite the fact that I would love to speak to some of these accusations, I'm going to allow our attorney, Brittany Hoskins, for the city to explain the process for how this occurred. I would also, I think the Board of Mayor and Aldermen who did choose to attend that meeting fully understands the reason for what has happened, fully understand the timing for why that has happened, and that this complaint is against a citizen. It's simply stated, we're not seeking damages. We're seeking for a judge to acknowledge one way or the other as to what code should be followed by this property. So then that way, moving forward, we'll be able to know how to best enforce those for future uses. At the same time, we're also looking to limit our exposure should we have been enforcing codes that we shouldn't have, or on the contrary, if we don't enforce codes that we have previously enforced. So I would like to ask Ms. Hoskins if she would like to address any of the concerns that were brought by Alderman Allmacher.
Thank you, Mr. Quick. Just briefly, as I'm not sure this is a good use of the time that we have here, what we have is a citizen who owns property within city limits that is zoned residential R1. And it also qualifies as property that's eligible to be in the Greenbelt, which is taxed as agricultural. However, taxing purposes and zoning purposes are two different things. And it is zoned residential, which means that it must comply with residences that are built in R1 areas. And we have a citizen who's refusing to comply with that, a citizen who we have worked with for quite some time trying to ensure compliance, and a citizen who blatantly said, I'll have to be sued in order for for me to comply with codes. And so that is what's happened here. Our office represents the city of Tullahoma, or our firm does. Therefore, we advise the city administrator that our firm has a conflict, as Ms. Alderman happens to be that citizen, and she's also an alderman who sits on this board. So therefore, our firm had a conflict. They've outside counsel has been retained for this, and outside counsel is here if they wish to speak on this as well. However, that's really what's going on here. The letter that Ms. Allmacher just read into the record was a recap of a conversation that she had with our city administrator, where he simply put it into writing and said, this is your position, this is our position, just sign off on this, as a recap of our conversation. And as she stated, she's refused to sign that. She refuses to comply with codes. And so our hands have been tied on this. We have no choice. We're going to enforce our codes against any citizen, and that includes the alderman.
Thank you. Any other citizens wish to speak?
Hello, I'm Cecilia Simmons, 706 South Polk Street. I'm here because I have a neighbor that is dumping human waste on the ground, and I've reached out to city codes, and I'm just not sure that they're doing everything they need to do. I was told my case was closed by Tony, so I reached out to Charles, and he sent them back out to view the violations, but he never came back to me and told me that my issue was being addressed, that there were other violations there. And also, I have some other concerns. This person is on Section 8, and she has a felon and a sex offender there. And my grandkids come. I have nieces and nephews that live in this neighborhood. So I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here.
We'll have to address that with our codes department, ma'am.
Pardon me?
We'll have to address that with our codes department.
I have.
The city administrator.
The city administrator would.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? We'll close the comments from citizens, and we'll move into the agenda for the evening. And get a motion on the floor to approve the agenda as presented. Motion from Alderman Berry, seconded by Alderman Mann. Any questions on the agenda? If not, we'll vote on the agenda. Agenda passes 7-0. With that, we'll turn to our reports from our alderman. We'll start with Alderman Berry.
No report, Mayor, other than congratulations to Jessica Moore, who is our Employee of the Month. Miss Ashley nominated her. Thank you to her and all the city staff for what you do.
Alderman Quick.
I have no report, Mayor.
Alderman.
Yes, since this is about all citizens and all land, Section 6 TCA 6-54-126 zoning limitations on agricultural land. For any land that is used for agricultural purposes as of May 10th, 1998, a municipality may not use its zoning power to interfere in any way with the use of such land for agricultural purposes, so long as land is used for agricultural purposes. Also, farmhouse residences is incidental to the agricultural enterprise. I would just like to say that I am very disappointed. No citations, no conversations. I've never even had a conversation with Ms. Hoskins. It's very interesting. I've never spoken to you.
I said I second that.
Yeah.
You've never spoken to me. That's true.
That's true. So, it's interesting to be talking about those types of things, but I do think that mandatory sprinkler requirements, we can tap our things all we want to. Mandatory sprinkler requirements are something that this board does need to discuss. I'll be happy to abstain, but going forward in the future, I think it would behoove of the city administration to bring items like that before this body, because again, it's supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people. The citizens of Tullahoma should know what you're spending your tax dollars on. And, this continued witch hunt of an alderman is not really a good use of taxpayer dollars. That is all I have.
Alderman Wilson.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman.
A couple of things this evening. First off, on a more positive note, I want to acknowledge a local citizen named Shaylin C., who reached out to us about 2 weeks ago. Shaylin emailed all of us not to complain or to bring up a problem with the city, but to offer a solution. Following the tragic death of a local infant that I'm sure many of us had read about, Shaylin decided to gather signatures and petition this board to obtain and install a safe baby box in our city. Most of you have probably heard of this, but basically it's a box installed at our fire department where it legally permits a mother in crisis to safely, securely, and anonymously surrender her unwanted newborn. Once the infant is placed in the box, it triggers automatic calls to 911 and alerts to trained staff so that they may rescue the newborn. So far, Shaylin's petition has around 70 signatures, and it can be found on change.org by searching Implement Safe Baby Boxes in Tullahoma, Tennessee. I would encourage anyone who believes, as I do, that our city should purchase and install a safe baby box here in Tullahoma to sign the petition or reach out to members of this board prior to our next meeting. Always on top of things, our fire department and Chief Pearson have already been looking into this, getting the numbers, and will have an item on the next agenda for this board to consider and hopefully approve. At that time, I've invited Shaylin to bring and present her petition prior to the vote. I think this is something we can all get behind, and I applaud Mrs. Sieg for stepping up and reaching out with an idea for our city that could save the lives of its most vulnerable. It's very encouraging to have citizens like her giving their time and effort to make positive change for this city. Also, I'd like to mention that we have a couple more businesses from the downtown that have committed to donating money toward the Downtown Planner Project, and waiting to hear back from a few more that might as well. Next week, I'll be acknowledging everyone who is committed to helping fund this project in my comments at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Mathis.
No report.
For me, I've been attending some meetings, airport board meeting, TUA meeting. Also, we had an interview for a new president for our TUA board, for our TUA organization. We hired, the board has hired Alan Potter, who is a VP of electrical there. And then I, last week, attended the South Central Tennessee Development District over in Mount Pleasant. With that concludes my report, but now I'd like to turn to our honorary aldermen. I'd like for them to give us things that are going on in their world, and particularly at the high school. and tell us some about yourself and plans for your future. We'll start with Ms. Anderson. Well, just tell us, are you a senior or a junior?
I'm a sophomore.
A sophomore. Well, congratulations on being here. And do you have an office in the Mayor's Youth Council? You're just one of the worker bees? I bet you do a good job. With that, we'll turn to our Alderman, Ms. Holly James.
I'm a sophomore too. Not much is going on. We're both in the Tullahoma color guard.
And what year are you in?
I'm a sophomore.
Sophomore also. Well, I hope you get some good experience about what goes on in local government by being here tonight, and we certainly appreciate you being here. We're honored to have honorary aldermen, so thank you for being here. Thank you. With that, we'll turn to a report from our city administrator.
Tomorrow you will receive in letter form a report relative to all the pending matters in court.
Thank you. And we'll turn to our city administrator.
First of all, Mayor, these two young ladies that are serving as honorary aldermen are not that shy and quiet. I have seen them in the hallways before, and they were just caught off guard. But I will tell you that they are two outstanding young ladies who serve as leaders, not only for their sophomore class, but they're viewed throughout the high school as leaders. And I just want to say I'm very proud to have you both here, and look forward to working with you more before the school year is over. Personnel regs have been updated. We are doing some final changes on that. We look forward to getting that put together for your review and adoption. Hopefully that'll be within the next 2 to 4 weeks. I'll keep you updated on that. We are looking at doing our preparation for budget sessions. Sue and I will be meeting with department heads starting next week to prepare for that, and they will be presenting according to the schedule that has been provided to you. Each department will have a 5-minute time frame in order to present to you. We're also looking to try to make it a consistent presentation, so it'll all be the same template, if you will. That way you don't have to go searching and finding for things, so we're putting that together now. The William Northern project, the straightening out of that side of the street, that is hopefully going to go to bid in 2 to 3 weeks. We received drawings back from the engineering firm. Everything is looking good. We had 3 new hires in Tullahoma Police Department within the last 2 weeks. I would like to congratulate Corporal Candace McGee, who was promoted from patrol to corporal. Michael Wilder, who is going from our investigations unit as now a patrol sergeant. And then we're bringing in Chris Vest, who is coming from Bedford County and is coming highly recommended. So we look forward to having those 3 serve in leadership roles going forward. The community service organization funding applications that we have sent out, we have made sure that we've contacted all of those that submitted last year to make sure they understood that the application process was in effect, and that also how they would go about getting those materials, and reminding them that the deadline to submit that information is going to be on April 1st. Opening ceremonies for Little League, nothing like spring time ball, is going to be April 1st, and that's for Little League. Our Little League is our co-ed teams, and we have 349 players, and that's going to be about 30 teams. And then on April 8th, we will have girls softball starting, and that's for ages K through 6, and we have 150 girls and 14 teams. I would like to remind everybody that this Friday, Mayor Noes will be hosting a legislative breakfast at Lakewood Country Club. Rush Bricken, Janice Bowling, and Iris Rudder are going to be there, and look forward to getting an update from them on things that are going on in the legislature. Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm not usually this shy and quiet either, but I would like if you'd give us an update on the Johnson Lane restroom project.
Yes, sir. JP, I'm going to let you come forward with that. JP wanted to give us some information. I said, you know what, we may not have time for that tonight, knowing how stacked our agenda was, but JP, if you would provide that information, please.
So CNH Contractors has contracted with OLG to do the MEPs, and they should have them back the first week of April. So hopefully things will start moving after that.
Thank you. Explain those acronyms.
The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for the restrooms and the concession stand component, also the HVAC.
On that, we approved a quote. Is there a contract that's coming back to us?
We have the contract. It's signed. It's fully executed with Miss Ashley.
That one coming back to us?
Let me look into that. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, with the, thank you, Mr. Quick. With that, we'll move into the consent agenda. Consent is something that just routine and would pass without, should be without conversation. We have a motion from Alderman Mathis, seconded by Mann. Question on the consent agenda is the minutes of the regular meeting and public hearings from March 11th. Motion is second, ready to vote. It passes 7-0. We're ready to move into unfinished business. This is on second reading. An ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma set forth in the municipal code, rezone the parcel located along Kings Lane. That's from R2 to neighborhood commercial C2. This is for passage on second reading.
It's to C3, correct?
Yep.
That's correct, C3. Motion from Mann, second by Alderman Barry, second by Mann. Any questions? On second reading, ready to vote. Passes 7-0. Ordinance number 1623, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma set forth in the municipal code, rezone parcel located on 2230 North Jackson Street. That's from commercial C2 to neighborhood commercial C3 as well. We're passing on the second, third reading. A motion. Motion from Glick, second by Mann. Any questions? Ready to vote. Passes 7-0. Ordinance number 1625. Ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma set forth in the municipal code. Rezone a parcel located on 911 North Washington Street from commercial C2 to commercial C3. Passes on the second, final reading. Motion from Glick, second by Mathis. Any questions? Ready to vote? Passes 7-0. No other unfinished business. Moving into new business. An ordinance number 1627, ordinance to amend the mobile food vending Title 19. Title 9, Business Peddlers and Solicitors, Chapter 8, Mobile Food Vending of the City of Tullahoma. As set forth in the Tullahoma Municipal Code, passed on the first of two readings. Details of that are on page 78 in your packet. Motion from Barry. And waiting a second. Second by Mann. Now turn to the city administrator for discussion. No discussion?
No.
Ready to vote. Any question? You have that in your packet to review. And it passes 7-0. Next item, 2423, consider a request for Winston Brooks TAEDC to reappoint Dr. Lynn Seaborn and Mr. John McCord to the Tullahoma Health, Education, and Housing Facility Board, and that's a subset of Tullahoma Area Economic Development Corporation, TAEDC. Motion from Mann, second by Barry. Any questions on that?
I do have a quick question.
Alderman Wilson.
I just wondered if, I know that that Dr. Seaborn is his intention is to run for mayor in this upcoming election, and I didn't know if there was a conflict with the mayor serving on the TADC, so I wanted to pose that question.
Well, he's not been elected yet, so we're appointing him until that point in time.
But just to be clear, if there was a citizen, I mean, if there was an employee of the city that was going to run for office, would they have up until they're elected to vacate their?
I'll ask the director of the TADC to address that question, if you would, Mr. Williams. Mr. Brooks, you want to address that question?
Well, that's a question about
Whatever that question answered.
Mayor, Alderman, good to see you guys tonight. Thank you for taking the time to consider this motion. I think the last part of that question is probably better answered by our attorney team, and then if we need to address the other issues, I'd be glad to do it.
Members of the TAEDC are not employees of the city. However, under our code, if Mr. Siebert were to be elected mayor, he could not keep the other position. But since he has only picked up papers and has not filed them for qualification, there's no reason why he couldn't be reappointed to this position tonight.
So, I have one comment to make and then another question, because we're going to continue doing this no matter what I say. I find it interesting, as I've been an alderman up here, that we often get an attorney's opinion or counsel from an attorney in open meetings. Typically, if we had a question on something that was of legality that might even be of a confidential nature, we should typically probably ask for that behind closed doors, but it's probably not going to change. I'm just saying something y'all might want to consider for the future. So since we're doing this in open meetings, I think the question that I was really interested in is, in much the same token like this, if it doesn't matter until he is elected, is that the same for employees of the city who choose to run for office, or what does the code say?
I believe it would be, yes.
So if you're an employee of the city, then you would be able to remain employed by the city up until the point that you...
Unless you won your office, and then there would be
That's my opinion. Yes, it is.
Yeah. That's why we were even able to appoint somebody to a board as a citizen while they were still on the board. We did that with Mr. Blanks on the TUA board. So yeah, the conflict doesn't arise until the conflict is present. In other words, I would agree with that sentiment, Mr. Worsham. Thank you for the clarification.
Any further comments? Now we're ready to vote. Passes 7-0. So Mr. Seward and Mr. McCourt, you've been reappointed. Item number 2444, consider a request from Parks and Recreation to accept a bid provided by Hall Farms and Landscaping in the amount of $30,641 with a $5,500 yearly maintenance fee for the landscaping downtown renovation project. Details on 126. Motion from Barry, seconded by Mann. Any discussion? Ready to vote. It passes 7-0. Item number 2245, consider a request for the city administrator to approve cancellation of the regular Board of Aldermen meetings on Monday, July the 27th, and May the 27th and July the 22nd. Of course, May 27th is Memorial Day, and the July 22nd is a conflict with the TML meeting in Nashville, which hopefully everyone can attend. Motion from Barry, second by Zalmacher. Ready to vote. Passes 7-0. There being no other new business, we will adjourn the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting and move directly into the beer board. Are there any public comments to address for the beer board tonight? If not, we'll move into the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion from Barry, seconded by Mann. Any discussion? It's on the minutes from the previous meeting. It's ready to vote. Passes 7-0. Next item on the agenda is Bear Board number 12, request to approve EB11, a request to approve a beer application special permit for a nonprofit, South Jackson Civic Association. From Ms. Colleen Sanders, the president will be in charge of the beer sales. Schedule for the beer, that's on page 140. Motion from Mann, seconded by Barry. Any questions?
I do have a question about that. It seems like regularly we're having beer applications for events at South Jackson Civic Center. Would it not be, and I'm just merely asking the question, would it not be possible for them to get a beer license and not have to come every time they have an event?
That's what this one is.
That's what this one is? Okay.
They're ahead of me.
Okay, good. Answer my question then.
Ready to vote. That passes 7-0. Next item is a request to approve a beer application special events permit for Centennial Women's Club live on Lawn charity fundraiser Friday, May the 24th, 7 to 9 p.m. South Jackson Performing Arts. And Ms. Colleen Sanders again will be the president in charge of beer sales. Seconded from Barry, seconded by Mann. Any question on that one? Details on page 148. Not ready to vote.
Could they not operate under South Jackson's?
That's what I was wondering.
That's
different organization.
Same person, different organization.
Yeah.
Same place, different organization. Okay.
Across the street.
That's the same.
It's the same place.
Same
It's
address. The venue's the same address.
Yeah. I think it would be unnecessary in the future to have to do that twice. If they have a beer permit on file, then if you're having an event at South Jackson, you should just...
Yeah, that's what my question
Because they would be holding the beer permit, so...
It's different responsible parties, right? It's not the venue that's getting the permit, it's the person and the responsible party. That's the difference in the two.
The liability premise.
Yeah.
Passes 7-0. Okay, with tonight we have a situation that does not come before our beer board regularly. We have a situation tonight where we've had two vendors have a beer permit that have been brought to us that have a violation, sales to minors. And the details of that, if you'll turn to page 154 in your packet. See the details of that, where the vendor was observed selling beer to an 18-year-old minor. And with that, I know we have the attorneys here with us tonight. In the past, our city attorney has essentially addressed this issue with the responsible party. And I'll turn this over to our city attorney to handle proceedings.
The first violation involves a beer permit holder by the name of Gayatri Bin R. Patel Brothers Local Market at 735 Clement Drive in Tullahoma. Is Mr. Patel present tonight? Is Mr. Patel here? Well, he needs to be here. because he's the person who's been charged with a violation of our beer ordinance, and someone in his behalf should not. It should be someone else, in my opinion.
If the person that he has been asked to be here, is that correct? He's been advised that it's imperative that he be here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If we will not act on this until he is here, so we can address this issue with the person.
Can we stop beer sales until this is?
Yeah, I have a
This
question.
is a serious.
I'd like to know who he did send, though, out of curiosity, and what they were planning to say. I know he needs to be here, but I'm still curious.
And the manager of the market.
Of which market?
The Brothers Love Market.
Okay.
I'm the manager over there. He lives, actually, the owner lives in Columbia, Tennessee.
And if you please, if you
Who
have.
holds the license?
Would you come forward?
He does. Well, then yes.
Mr. Timothy. He lives in Columbia, Tennessee. Is there a specific reason why he could not be here this evening that he sent you in this place? Or you don't know, you're just told to be here?
I'm just told to be here.
Right, I understand. I know.
So we're going to postpone this hearing.
Did he receive service? Did you have documentation that he received service?
It was hand-delivered.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to make a motion that I don't know how to state this. I'd like to make a motion that any beer sales are stopped until we have had this hearing.
I think a 2-week suspension of beer sales is probably appropriate anyways, given that they were selling to underage, so, and that's at a minimum.
Was that worded appropriately?
I think it sounds good.
A moratorium on beer sales for the location.
Suspension of beer sales
Suspension.
until the hearing.
Until we're going to vote on this motion, but the motion is that we will ensure that beer sales will be stopped as of this vote until he appears before this board and answers why he would allow an employee to sell to 3-year underage. That's not even close.
Right, we don't allow them to do it, but, we train them the best we can, and if we're not there, then...
Well, I'm afraid that's just not good enough.
Still responsible.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, you recognize.
So will we need to serve papers again for a new
No, it's
hearing
public
date?
notice. It's public, he's publicly noticed by this hearing, in my opinion, but...
Well, the motion has been made that we direct the beer sales to stop until he appears before this board and answers.
And she's here, and she's
as a non-responsible beer salesperson, and he is subject to a fine. We'll impose that fine if the board votes to do so. But at this point, the beer sales will stop pending this vote. We're ready to vote on Alderman Berry's motion, seconded by Mann. That passes 7-0. We have another issue.
Yes, we have a similar charge against another owner at another location.
Page 163.
The permit holder at that location is Mr. Girish Patel at the West Lincoln Market, 610 West Lincoln Street. Is Mr. Girish Patel present?
I'm Sonal Patel. I'm the owner of the store.
Are you Girish Patel?
No, I'm not the Girish Patel, but I'm part of the store, yeah. He's not here, sir.
He's not here as well?
But I'm the owner. I'm the owner for that store.
Who's the beer permit?
I make the same motion.
Is the beer license in your name?
Who is Girish
No,
Patel?
that was the Girish Patel name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be the person
Is
who
he
the
the owner of the
license is
beer
in their
permit?
name.
Yeah,
Then he has to be here, even though you're the owner. You can be here too,
Yeah.
but he needs to be here. He's the one that was served, and he's the one that's responsible to you for that.
Question to our city clerk. Was he properly notified? Yes, he was properly notified. He's not here. I guess we'll entertain a motion to...
Same motion.
same motion is to deny beer sales until he appears before this board and tells us why he also sold to an underage person 3 years under. Again, not close. Got a motion and a second. We're ready to vote.
It's not, we need to.
We're not. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I think you've done your duty for this tonight, but we'll do this again next board meeting. Alderman Berry, second by Mann. No other questions, we're ready to vote. That also passes 7-0. There's no further business before the beer board.
We just need to state that beer and alcohol sales are a serious thing, and it's a privilege to have in this city that you're allowed to do it. And if you're in violation and called to this body that grants that permit, you need to make sure you're here. So.
Very well said.
I do have a question. Do we have a record of whether or not either one of these permit holders are responsible vendors?
I called the state.
The penalty is different if they are or if they're not?
I called the state today, and they couldn't tell me.
They could not tell you that?
The person that does that was on vacation.
Well, would you try to do that between now and next year?
Let me say
that does have a difference. And my recommendation to the beer board will be different depending upon whether or not they have taken that course and qualified, and the penalty is more severe if they have not done that.
If they are in fact a responsible vendor, they will have a certificate from the state. This is issued by the state, not by the city. If they are a responsible vendor, they should bring that with them when they come before this board. They will be asked for it. If they don't have it, they will be assumed to be a non-responsible vendor.
I think we need responsible vendor certificates from all of our licensed beer. I mean, I almost think that should be a requirement at some point after you receive your beer license or your beer permit. After so many months, 6 months to a year, you should have to get it if you haven't already. A lot of people get it before they even open the doors, but I think we should consider revising.
City administrators recognized.
I would just like to add on to what Alderman Glick commented on. I was able to sort of view and participate a little bit in this sting operation with Investigator Maloney, two officers from the ABC, and I will tell you the vast majority of our retail establishments did follow the guidelines to the T. So I do want to praise those that are doing it right, and we had far many more who did it right than a couple that just didn't do it right that night. But just want to say that I want to thank Investigator Maloney and others who try to put this together so we can make sure that we're following laws, but also making sure we're keeping our teenagers safe as well.
And just as in interest of transparency also, we did have one other vendor who was selling alcoholic beverages to the same underage minor. That goes before the State Alcoholic Beverage Committee, not to this board. So that, their board adjourned. We'll take a 5-minute recess before we go into